Hey everybody, welcome back again. And today I've got something a little bit different than I usually do that's not quite as much of a G1 toy as I've done in the past. But today we're going to take a look at unboxing the Cang Toys Pterhowl, which is their version of a stylized swoop. Typically, I don't like these stylized figures. I don't like the figures that kind of have that samurai look to them or anything like that. I consider myself more of a G1 purist in terms of the toys, but having seen in the past the Cang Toys releases for their Predaking, I was really curious about this figure. Plus the fact that when I was a kid, the Dinobots were always my favorites. Swoop was my favorite Dinobot. I always just thought any Swoop toy was really cool. So I figured I'd go ahead and get this and just take a look at it and see what kind of a toy we've got here with this. So full disclosure, I have removed the shrink wrap from this because it was creating a terrible glare on the camera. But let's go ahead and unbox this and see what we got. First of all, I tell you what, let's look at the artwork on the box. So the box, it's a huge box. It's a heavy box, but it's got really spectacular artwork on it. So on the front, we've got an action shot of Swoop. The top, we've just got some titling. On the side, we've got some product shots of the figure in different poses. The bottom, some more product shots, really good looking. On the side, we've got some more product shots. And then on the back, obviously, some even more product shots. Not sure what any of this says. I guess it's just the figure name, some information on it. But just overall, a really nice box, really sturdy. So let's go ahead and get this guy open. And right off the bat, we've got kind of a movement shifting litho that as you tilt it, that has some different photos. It's a really cool looking piece there. And then we've got the instructions and collector cards. So we've got, looks like we've got a couple collector cards. So very cool. Another thing that this came with was, I guess this has to do with the holiday, but this was actually in the box outside of the box of the figure. So I got this figure from Show Z, and this was just packed in with it, and it's just a bunch of little envelopes, and I can only imagine that it's maybe a celebration of the Chinese New Year. I ordered this figure actually right before the Chinese New Year hit, and they actually shipped it on the same day that I was under the impression they were supposed to be out. So I kind of didn't think I would get this figure until a little bit later just because of that delay. But yeah, not sure what this is for. It just says Happy New Year on the back of it. So cool little piece there. So let's go ahead and get the packing out. So right off the bat, we've got the wings that are packed separately. I would imagine this is the combiner hand. And if memory serves right, with their version of Predaking, each one of these hands combined into something additional. If I remember correctly, it was like a crab or a scorpion looking thing. So really curious to see what they're going to do with this. So it looks like it's actually probably the same hand piece that will be used for both of the figures, and you can just swing the thumb around is what it looks like, and then maybe swing this around. So that's really cool. But yeah, some really nice articulation on it. It's articulated at each one of the knuckles. This fingertip here looks to be articulated. The fingers do seem really spindly. And then we've got articulation there in the thumbs. So yeah, really nice looking. It's really solid. It does not feel cheap at all. I didn't really know what to expect with these figures, having never actually held one in my hand before, but it feels like it's got quite a bit of heft to it. Just feels very, very quality made. It's some nice paint applications. So yeah, really good looking piece there. And then we've got our wings, it looks like, that are attached separately, or packaged separately, not attached separately. We've got some plastic there to protect the paint. And these wings, I mean, are just huge. They do unfurl a good bit. You know, they look to be from tip to tip here, probably close to 12 inches or so. Really nice paint on this. There's also some tampo with the Pterhowl name on it. You can see that's very, very nice quality there. I don't see any blurring in it. It looks really, really nice. I kind of like how there are elements of the G1 Swoop here with these little missile pods that were present on the original Swoop. The claws on the wings are somewhat articulated, or I say somewhat, there's a good bit of articulation here. It moves around on a ball joint here, and then the individual claws, it looks like, can move around. So really, really nice looking, very striking appearance to it. So let's get this off to the side. Obviously, it's going to be the same thing with the other wing. Put this to the side. So yeah, the other wing, exactly the same. A good bit of articulation, unfurling these guys. And the claws. So yeah, it's very, very nice. The paint is very consistent between the two pieces. Just really good looking there. We've got a good bit of articulation in the wing, you know, aside from the wing spreading out. Several spots of articulation. All right, and then for the main event, we get down to the layer with the figure. So we've got some additional accessories here. We've got, looks like, 2 rifles, some handles that flip down. Those are round handled, so I guess we'll see if he has kind of the same holding style, you know, the slot and peg that other Masterpiece scale figures have. But really, really nice looking. Again, really nice paint on this. Really good looking rifle. And then we've got some additional swords, it looks to be. So we've got 2 identical swords. There's some articulation here in the handle. I would imagine that maybe these plug into the wings and could be some additional segments of the wings, but just a really, really nice looking. Nice paint again. Very subtle metallic look to it. And then we've got the figure itself. So let's see if we can get in here without stabbing myself. So I will say, going back to my initial statements, I don't typically like these stylized figures. This has a very Gundam look to it. I'm not a Gundam fan, never have been, but this, I can see somebody being able to put this on a shelf with other Gundam figures, and it would fit in perfectly. Doesn't look like a Transformer to me. It doesn't look like Swoop, aside from the beak here. One thing, it looks like the beak kind of sticks out here. It doesn't lay flush on his chest. Maybe it does lay a little bit more, but as you can see, that beak sticks out a good bit. Let's see if the beak opens. The beak does open. So let's take a look at some of the articulation in this guy. So the head looks to be on a ball joint. There's a little bit of side to side that you can get. You kind of have to play around with lifting that head up a little bit out of the shoulders. The arms, we've got arm rotation. That way all the way around. If I do that way, this piece kind of bends up. I would imagine that gives us some ability for some additional poses, additional articulation here. The shoulder pauldrons move a little bit. We've got a bicep swivel. Let's bring this out. So bicep swivel all the way around. At the elbow, we've got better than 90 degrees. So really nice articulation there. At the hand, we've got wrist swivel. And then this kind of answers my question from earlier. If you'll notice, the hand there kind of has a curve in it that, in addition to a little slot here, or a little peg that the weapons look like they slot into. The hand does move back a little bit. Fingers are on individual ball joints, it looks like, and there's a good bit of articulation in the fingers. They bend at the knuckles, so that looks really good. Moving down to the waist, so we've got waist swivel. Looks like it goes all the way around. If you kind of move some of this out of the way, do have an ab crunch, a little bit of an ab crunch. And then moving to the hips, so let's move some of this out of the way. So all of this extra stuff here looks like it kind of slides out of the way and can be posed. So the leg goes out. It's on a nice ratchet. We've got thigh swivel. It goes a good way around, just kind of in the way of some of these other razor blades that are poking off of here. There is some, so if you look at the hip, there's some additional articulation in there. And then if we look at the knee, so we do have a good bit of articulation in the knee there. Get a little bit more than 90 degrees. There might be some additional articulation from moving some of these pieces out of the way. It's kind of hard to tell at this point, looking at this guy. And then looking at the ankles, so we've got ankle rotation. There's a lot of die cast in here. Do we have ankle tilt? So it does look like we've got some ankle tilt. And then we've got we can point those toes up or down. Not so much up. And then we've got some articulation in the heel spur here. So overall, I would say it's outstanding articulation on this figure. From the product shots that I've seen, you can get some really dynamic poses with this figure. But again, if you're not a fan of these stylized figures, you're probably not going to like this guy. I think he's really cool looking, just not as a transformer. Definitely not as Swoop. Again, you can see all these spines on the head, just very, very, very Gundam looking to me. But again, that's what Cang Toys is going for, that stylized look, and the crowd that is drawn to those kind of figures. But I think this guy will, look really good on a shelf. Let's put his wings on. So it looks like his wings, the way this works, this slides down into a slot, a T-shaped slot on his back for both of the wings. So you can see this slides down. And that's how those are attached. And I mean, you can see these wings are just massive on this figure. I would say this is a good, 20 inches across on this figure. I'll tell you what, let's just take a look and do a quick measurement across. So wingtip to wingtip is actually 31 inches, and I don't even think I have them all fully stretched out yet. So just a massive, massive wingspan. Bigger than, if you're familiar with the Gigapower version of Swoop or even the Fans Toys version of Swoop, I'm 99% positive that is a wider wingspan than those two guys. So just a really gigantic figure. And for the price that this guy was, I think I paid $149 for it. I think it's a pretty good value for that. I'm curious to see what the next figures are going to look like. I never did pick up their version of Snarl, but I'm kind of tempted to go back now and pick that up and maybe work towards the full combine mode on this figure. Again, being a G1 purist, my Dinobots don't combine into a bigger figure, but I know some of the later iterations of the media, they did combine, but not for me. But overall, I would recommend this figure. It's a really nice looking figure. If you've got a place in your collection for it, I'm going to kind of have to think through and figure out where I'm going to put this in the collection. But I really like it. It's a very nice figure. And shortly, I'll put up a video, do some comparisons with some of the other versions of Swoop, just so you can get an idea of the size comparisons between the two. But again, I appreciate you guys looking. If you like what I've got on here, click the like button, the subscribe button, and I'll keep doing these.